Hello, welcome to the Empower Series podcast, where you get hope, inspiration, education, and connection to resources to help you take that next step to achieve your goal. You are in for a treat. Get your pens and paper ready. I always tell you that, but I mean it this time. I mean it every time, but I'm really meaning it this time. Today's title podcast is going to be on the graduate's edge, navigating life beyond the cap and gown. So if those of you who have been involved with the high school graduation, you know the excitement that's around it, the excitement, the anticipation. Oh man, you're like, they finally graduated. What's next, right? So with that excitement, to be real, comes a lot of uncertainty. Like, what is next? Like, how do I make a living? Like, how do I make money? How do I manage money? Like, what am I going to eat every day? Because mama's not cooking for you anymore, right? So you've got to really figure things out, and you want to know how, what am I going to do? And how am I going to thrive? So our guest today has the answers. So we are blessed. We have a very special guest today, the remarkable Rosemary Jenkins. She is from Louisiana, which is where my father was born, right? Jeanneret, Louisiana, right? She has her expertise spans from speech to theater, as well as from counseling to school psychology. She has a deep understanding of the human development and communication, and Rosemary has channeled her passion into writing impactful young adult fiction and nonfiction novels that addresses the real world issue of these challenges. Now, her work consistently reflects the crucial life lessons and underscores the importance of what I call PP, which is proactive preparation, right?
Okay, I like that.
For the road ahead, and she is the author of several insightful books, including the one that we're going to dive into today, Things to Know, Have, and Do as You Graduate from High School. Rosemary's unique perspective, born from her diverse educational background and her commitment to fostering personal growth, makes her the perfect voice to guide us through this important conversation, and we are so thrilled to have her here with us today. Rosemary, welcome to the Empower Series podcast.
All right. Well, Clifton, thank you for having me. I just wanted to say I do have a few books that only one is pretty much published, but there
Okay.
are some others and probably forthcoming.
Okay. Well, I am very excited about this book, like things to know, have, and do as you graduate from high school. Like every adult probably has some lessons that they want to, share with their students or their parents,
Right.
or with their children. But I mean, to put in a book and taking the time to do that, I want to commend you for that, because this is now part of your body of work.
Yes.
That's going to continue to bless future generations. So thank you. And if you're an adult out there and we say some things that you haven't done, you still got time.
Always. I also wanted to say in reference to the book that this book was written by me back in early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to add some things or change some things to the book. And I never did get around to do it. So this time I have retired, but I also been substitute teaching, and I've been looking about what's been going on with students and teaching in the school. And I said, well, no, this book, even though it was in the early 2000s, the basics or foundations of things you ought to know, you ought to have, and you ought to do remains the same as now. And I wanted to just bring that back to life. So therefore, I have republished this book of things to know, have, and do as you graduate from high school.
So you can get this book on Amazon, and there's a ton of other places that sell this book. It's all going to be underneath the video, along with other relevant links and how to get in touch with Rosemary. So, Rosemary, I am looking at this book, and I'm telling you, I want to dive into it. I was telling you earlier before we started recording that life is for real.
Yes.
We talk about, getting drafted and going pro. It's like, this is like, look, you're a franchise player in your life, right?
Right.
This is in the D League. This is
Right.
the league. And so I'm really excited to hear about your thoughts on financial literacy, picking the right career, and just what are the things that, you feel are very important for students to know. And you say you've gone back and you substitute taught in
Yes.
classes, and you kind of see there's still some fundamental issues that high school students are not really leaving, having
Yes.
done or having, know. or
Right.
do, right? So what
Right.
are some of those things?
Well, first, I wanted to say that, of course, I have dedicated this or prepared this for the high school students, um, which is, I made this more of an interactive book because in one section of it, I do have a section where they or can take notes because everything is not an absolute. You can always add on to the book
Hmm.
in terms of what you are to know. Because I figure that, uh, as you know, life goes on, but there are things that for myself, I didn't know, I didn't have, and I didn't do. And they cost me some costly mistakes or things that took me a long time to sort of get on a better path, and uh, they say you learn from your mistakes. Where sometimes, yes, you do, but there are times when it takes you so long to recover, you really don't need to be making those mistakes
Yeah.
if you have some guidance from that. Because I really wanted the young adults to be able to read this, I didn't go into in depth about a lot of things, specifics, just general things, because I wanted to make it a quick, easy read for the young adult. That's why it's only about 36 pages or so to be able to read in terms of what they are maybe is to know. Um,
Well, it's
an
not just young
example,
adults, it's
right,
like adults
right, right,
appreciate the 36 pages as well.
right. Again, within, I use a few terms in there in case they didn't understand what I was saying. So I put a glossary in for them to understand some of the little things that I'm saying. If I'm saying from girlhood to womanhood, from
Right.
what and etc. And what does it mean in terms of a budget? Also, again, with the note section. But I wanted to. An example would be to know is when you know something, it is to give you the confidence to in order to be able to uh, move on to do certain things. So therefore, it's important for you to try to figure out what you should pretty much need to know.
Hmm.
You need to you know that other people are not, first of all, are not responsible for your happiness to
Hmm.
make you be able to move forward. That comes back from the counseling part. Okay.
Right, right.
That right, that others are not responsible for you. You need to know how to manage your own money. Again, and you select your uh, preferred method of managing your money. And you may not know right now, but you can get others to help you and assist you. And you would go from there and you select how you want to uh, manage your money through your banking systems, whether it be checking and whether it would be credit cards or whether it would be, we use a lot now, which was in earlier stages when I first read, is if you want to know and use cryptocurrency. All of those, you just figure out how you want to do that. You set your budgets. Or I explain in terms of it within the book how
Hmm.
you might want to start up the budget because the budget is your roadmap. It is a guide for you to be able to know how to manage or assist with managing your money. You also want to
Well,
know.
before we move on, let's talk about that. So I
Okay.
like your first two things to know. Number one, ain't nobody responsible for your happiness but you,
Yes.
right? Ain't nobody come to save you.
Right.
So just, don't be sitting back waiting for things to be easy.
Yes.
Like you are responsible. I like that. Um, and so before when you first wrote this book, you saw certain things that not only from your experience took you a while to learn and do and know, or have, and then you saw students. So what are some of the things you saw in the students that prompted you to go ahead and write this book in the very beginning?
Well, again, I was, even though now I just come out from the school, I've been substitute teaching for the last couple of years.
Hmm.
And I was working in between. I still was doing subbing prior to then. I did a little bit, then I stopped work. And then I go back and I went back full time into working before I actually retired. But just having conversations with students, being interactive with them. And with my other job that I had, I was actually working with adults. And I'm going,
There's a gap.
Well, okay. Well, I see where they. Where,
Like we need to go way back.
yeah, yeah. I'm working with this. I said, well, I can see how some of the kids. What I was thinking at first would sort of come from that stand because foundations, prep, what you believe and all that. It is very important.
Yeah.
Very so much important. But I would see. Um, I liked high school. And so I was, dealing with most of the 10th, 11th, 12th. And then being there for a few years in the school system, there were the 10th, 11th, and 12th. And I was basically in the same school district.
Mhm.
So when I go back from year after year, we'll find out, well, where was Johnny and what this person is doing? If somebody remembered me, they would say, oh, well, this what happened to them and that. And some things was good and many things were not so good. Or, they're still out there trying to get this right. And I said, well, which reminded me of myself as well.
Okay.
So I said, well, I really wanted to put this out. And I understand there are also other tools
Mhm.
out there that talks this and focus, but I just had to get my 2 cents in there too to say that this is what you pretty much need to know not to stay stuck for
Yeah.
so long. Yeah.
Well, I think when you talk about you're responsible for your happiness, it reminds me of two things. So, growing up as a child in any household, there's a level of dysfunction,
Yeah.
right? And what I see with adults is that if you are still blaming your parents for who you are now at 18 or older, then you need to let go of something, right? Because, prior to 18, they may have had an influence on you, but it's just an influence. At 18 or beyond, you're now making the decision. You're captain of your ship, your life, right? And so even getting involved in relationships, a lot of times we look for other people to make us happy,
Yes.
our spouse. And that's a first step towards disaster.
Okay. Right. Which will also, I don't want to move on from the other without when it comes to knowing. You got to know basic, what we call them. I call them skills or domestic type
Okay.
skills.
Hmm.
You need to learn basic. You're not to learn how to cook. When I say cook, I'm not asking you to be a gourmet chef or anything, but just some little basic thing. And what is one of the easiest food that we kind of pick up and can eat at any time of the day? It's a lot of your little breakfast foods.
Yeah,
You know,
like
yeah.
frosted flakes. No.
Oh yeah. Well, you
No,
got to know how to cook it. Yes.
scrambled eggs, spaghetti,
Because you never know what might happen. Sometimes I'm going back to the college days where when
Roman
weather
noodles.
came up where you couldn't get out or you depended on
Yeah,
others to do.
yeah.
When you have things there to learn, you won't get so frustrated
Right,
about
right.
what you can't do and what somebody else do. And that comes basically having to do with relationship with other people where you want to look for them to be responsible for you to be
Right,
able to get
right.
basic things. Yeah.
Which is a basis for some conflicts, right? It's
Yes.
like it's never even in the Bible it says it's better to give than to receive,
Right.
right? And so whenever you're upset, it's usually because something I'm not getting. Something
Yes.
if you got to switch that, it's like why are you upset because what you're not getting? Again, I just that resonates with me. That's one thing. The second thing is financial literacy.
Yes.
So financial literacy, you talk about budgeting and knowing how to manage your money. That's not being taught in schools.
Exactly.
So how are they getting that? If they're not learning that at home, it's not being taught at school. How are they getting how to manage your money? Where do they get that from?
Be honest with you, you pretty much, it is sad, but you're pretty much on your own. At least it was for me, and I see with a lot of others. And then we say, well, they could get it from their parents and this and that. And I'm telling you, a lot of the parents really don't know.
Which is why that's a
Yeah.
problem, right? That's
Yeah.
where they're getting it. And
Yeah.
yeah,
A
I got
lot
you
of
on
the
that.
parents don't know. But there are a lot of things that available resources, so to speak, in terms of right now you have the age of the internet and this and that would help you. But if you could, there are some groups, organizations,
Like the Empower series, right?
yeah, yes, that will help you. So you're going to have to be able to learn how to engage and find those uh, resources, groups, or whatever on your own. But what I'm saying is you need to do it.
Right.
Now, it is sad to say, but it's not pretty much in the school the way it need to be.
Well, here's what we found. We found that there are a ton of financial literacy programs out
Yes.
there. Every bank has one.
Yeah.
Nonprofits have them. The Empower Series has it. So we don't reinvent the wheel. What we do is we actually showcase those organizations, whether it's Money Management International, whether it's the FDIC. We do workshops every year about financial literacies and tying people to resources that are already out there. So if you're watching this and you're thinking you do not know how to manage money, actually, another thought, when I was a financial advisor, I would be in a bank and a college, not a high school student, but a college student would come up to me
Hmm.
and just say, I thought I should talk to you because, my parents are still paying my bills, but I figure I'm going to graduate. And at some point I'm going to know how to manage my money. So they actually walked into the bank and talked to me. So if you're sitting there thinking you don't know the first thing about managing money, I would say if you bank somewhere, go into your bank and sit down and talk to your banker. Just start the
Very, very
conversation,
good.
right? And you can be a high school student. I encourage my kids to do that because they don't listen to me. All right.
Okay.
And I'm a
Well,
financial advisor. I give advice for a living,
yeah.
and they still think my advice is like not worth it.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
But again, you got to find that resource. And I with encouragement, however way you are to get it, it is very much so helpful. That's one of the things that we can do a lot of things. We talk about happiness, money don't bring, but it's a key thing that everybody needs.
Look,
Yeah,
money doesn't give you happiness,
right.
but it does fund the research.
It does.
Okay, so those are the first two things to know. I just wanted to accent, like, you are totally responsible for your happiness.
Yes,
No one's coming to save you.
right.
I love that. And then also financial literacy, that's my heart.
Hmm.
It's not the end of all, but it is a means to an end.
Hmm.
So those are the first two things to know. What else?
Okay, well, we talked about knowing about your, as far as the knowing, we may not hit everything I have noted
Hmm.
for no, but again, I think it's just as important to know your basic little things when it comes to, when I say domestic skills, you need to know how to wash your own clothes, um, wash dishes, and with the clothes, know a little bit on about what separating mean and all that. So, yeah, keep yourself kind of orderly. And
Look,
then when it comes to washing your clothes, I'm not, maybe I shouldn't say that with the, especially the little boys and et cetera.
I knew you were going to make.
When you
I
come,
knew you were going to make it gender specific. Come on, what you talking
no,
about?
no, or anywhere in the school,
Yeah.
middle school, you
They
need
come
to,
wearing
you need
pink
to be
stuff
able to,
because they
you know,
watched it.
I think the parents would say, well, you want to stay like that and be like that. You don't want to wash up. You just be like, but
Oh,
they coming out there. I got to interact with them.
right, right.
And so they need to
How
learn.
to clean their
Yeah.
clothes. Right.
Mhm.
I got you. I
Yeah.
got you. Look,
Yeah.
you're coming.
Just,
You're not coming from. Hey, these are just my ideas. It's like these are real world experiences.
yes.
Your kids need to wash their clothes.
Right. Wash the clothes, the bodies, and all that stuff
Yeah,
too. That would
hygiene.
be on the
Hygiene
video.
is
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one I put later on, but yeah, but you need to know the basics in terms of that, uh, in the have to. Um, let's see what else I wanted to say about to know. Um, you need to know in terms of there's a lot of times wherever you are that there are emergency situations that come up. Try to think of a plan of actions in terms of if an emergency come up, I'm going to do this and do that. You need to know. Um, example, sometime, many time, if somebody come to my house and say, if things come up, especially during bad weather time, this is where we're going.
Oh, okay.
This happened or there's a fire, anything, all gonna meet out at this. Those are things that you need to know to have out there for yourself.
And,
What do you do? Know what you do or in emergency. I with this time of year with the weather going on, I always make certain I keep my purse prepared and
mhm.
I have even though we have our cell phones, but you got water and stuff you never had. I always keep a list
Of
of
numbers, right?
numbers and
Yeah.
stuff on me.
Yeah,
Of
I like who can remember numbers now? I used to remember
right.
so many numbers.
I know I don't.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like if you don't use it, you will lose it, right?
And I've lost a lot of it. So yeah, I keep a little thing with we always had that telephone, but it's still handy. That's what I'm saying. This stuff is still basic stuff
Mhm.
we need to know and do because, uh, yeah, you just need to know. We rely so much on the phone, and it is very resourceful, our living, etc. But when emergency comes about, uh, you don't do that. And one of the ladies was saying, "You grab your purse." I don't be thinking about, well, I don't want to lose my phone and etc. It's a place just like I have my big pouch now. I
Yeah.
got a lot of things in there. I got my flashlights. I got this and that. I got a little thing. I need to have a little snacks, and I'm going. I don't know when I'm supposed to be snacking
Right,
and
right,
etc.
right.
But just yeah, just
So what I got out of it, this is like basic life skills. So
yes,
not just, emergency
yeah,
and risk management,
yes,
but, household management. We talked
yes,
about hygiene personally, but
yeah,
also in your house, effective communication,
yeah,
problem solving,
hmm
time management,
yeah,
and building healthy relationships. Those are
yeah,
all critically important. Going back to, hey, don't be expecting other people to do things that you're supposed to be doing. And then just to recap on financial literacy, you talked about budgeting and managing money, but it's really understanding debt because at high school, even in college, you're getting all these credit card offers, right?
hmm
And people don't really understand that. And then making informed financial decisions. Um, on a previous podcast, we talked about what financial literacy is,
okay,
right? And some people say financial literacy is just understanding how money works. That's a broad one, right?
yes,
The way I think the path to understanding how money works is to know how to track your money because
yeah,
that tells you everything. Number one, you have income and expenses, and if you don't have enough income, then that tells you there's a problem you got to solve right now. You got to make some
hmm
money. You got to make some
right,
money.
right,
And coming from high school to on your own, you're supported by your parents. So
yes.
now, if you want to move out, you got to realize, okay, I need some income. So that's going to help you with the income piece.
Right, and it is so important to know all and I think it contributes a lot to the fact is why so many of the parents are not continuing to have to support that part of providing for 'em because there's no taught in terms of how do you get to the point where you kind of cut it off or slim it off where they're managing this
Yeah.
as long as you keep giving over
Keep
here,
feeding
they never
them. They're
right,
gonna
it's,
keep coming,
they
right?
never
Keep
right.
as long as you keep
They
putting
don't
that
learn it.
that
Yeah.
bowl of milk out, the cat's gonna come, right?
Yes.
So, and here's the thing that's important too. Families are not talking about it. So, as
Right.
a parent, how I'm thinking about how many times I really opened up my budget to my kids. I didn't do it because
Mhm.
I didn't want to give them evidence
Yeah.
to throw back at me. Well, Dad, you talk about saving. Are you saving enough? Or
Yeah.
like you talk about spending money. What you spend your money
Yeah.
on? And but having those conversations will really help prepare the kids, and it
Yeah.
makes parents more accountable as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so back to tracking. Then where's your money going? Like I find as adults, we don't know where our money goes.
I I I don't have much of it, so that's why I have always been sold on budget.
Yeah,
I can't function without knowing where my money's going because I know this month I do the envelope things, I guess, from the
okay,
diagrams and stuff, but
okay,
I would need to know where I need to cut back or where I can increase, where I need to put over here. If they're there. It's exciting to me to be
hmm,
able to do it off of the little that I have,
yeah.
to be able to do that. But if you got that budget, it is my guide. I cannot function without it.
But I'll tell you, it's important because knowing where your money goes and
Mhm,
where it's coming from, that's the basis for every decision.
mhm,
Because people are not tracking it, they're not making good decisions,
yeah,
right? And so what I find though is that even with my daughter, who's more of an artist, um, and there are some people who are more detail oriented, she
yeah,
will never use a computer or a
okay,
software package. She will always write it down. And I remember
right,
when I first graduated from high school and college, I was using the 13 column worksheets to
yeah,
write down, right?
uh-huh,
Or using the checkbook, the old manual
okay,
checkbook. And then I went to an Excel worksheet. And then I went to Microsoft Money, which is a software package. And then I went to Quicken. But people are not going to make that evolution. They may use envelopes or they may use some other system. What's important is that they find a system that works for themselves,
exactly.
right?
There's so
Yeah,
much out there you'll
yeah.
be able to find it.
So that's important. I wanted to talk about those two things. And then what about career exploration and what they're going to do for a living? Where is that in the book?
Well, I think we're gonna do that on do.
Okay,
I
so
was
we're
gonna
still at
go to the
no.
have.
Oh, halves. Okay,
Yeah.
what's the half?
Okay, on the have an example. Let me see. When I come into the things that you're to have, which will allow us to get along with ourselves and also just to maintain order when
Okay.
you things that you're to have. Example of a few things that I'm listing, not everything. You all have a sense of spirituality.
Ah, yeah.
Many of us find comfort in believing in a higher being. For me, it's
Mhm.
God, others, whatever it is for you. You need that sense of spirituality. You need to have a sense of humor, be able to laugh about things,
Okay.
yourself and others, not making fun of, but just to have a sense of humor. You want to just have fun, whether it be partying with a friend or playing games or however it would be, find a way in there to have fun. Have your means of transportation. You need to be able to
So,
get around.
because it's nobody's responsibility to get you back and
Yeah.
forth to work, right?
Yeah. I mean, right. It's not, you just need to learn to do that. And I talk about just a little bit how you go about what might be expected when you get ready to buy maybe a
A
car,
car,
lease,
yeah.
or whatever, that, at your age, you might require um, what co-signers and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, just a little bit, and you need to know that you need to have insurance and health plans and all of that. So,
So that goes back to like managing your money, like the basis of
yeah.
financial literacy,
It all
knowing how
come
to buy
back
a
to money,
car.
don't it?
Yeah, having good credit so you can
Yeah.
you get your own car without having to co-sign. But I like what you're talking about, like having a sense of spirituality because there's a reason why we're here. And if you're growing up and you grew up in the church,
Yeah.
that's the basis of it. But as you become 18 and you're on your own, when
Right.
you're making your own decisions about what to do with your time, do you still go to church, right? Do you still just read the Bible? Do
Yeah.
you realize that there's a sense of spirituality where spiritual beings having a physical experience?
Right.
So regardless of what your faith is,
Exactly.
having some sense of there's something greater than just what we see
Right.
and feel and
Than
touch.
yourself. Yeah.
Right. So there's something bigger in this universe. Like if you look at the fact that there's so many galaxies out there, if there was nothing, that's a tremendous waste of space, right?
Yeah.
There has
Yeah.
to be some
Yeah.
purpose to this, all right? All
Yeah.
right, so back to like having a sense of spirituality, having a sense of humor, you were saying, having
Mm.
fun,
Yeah.
not taking things so seriously.
Right.
Okay.
Have means one or two other things I'm gonna mention. You need to have a place to live. In terms of living, whether you staying back, going to decide you're going to be at home, and that would come between you and the parents in terms of how you do that. I, whether they charge you and all that kind of stuff, but have a place to live. You need to have your own your transportation. Um, for some, people, they may be going on to college, and of course, they're going to have the dorms, or if they stay in apartments, however way to do. But all of that's becoming to do. And when you get ready to do the renting and all that, I mentioned about things like lease agreements and all that. You haven't
Mhm.
heard of all of that, so you need to uh, become familiar with all that and some of the things about when you're getting ready to buy a house. I mentioned in the book a little bit what you might expect from that, but
So going back to what you're mentioning here is a lot of financial literacy.
yes,
Whether it's buying a car and
yeah,
understanding credit, whether it's moving and getting into your own space,
hmm,
realizing that you're taking up space in your parents' house. This is not your
mm,
house,
yeah,
and so I think it's amazing when high school students move out and they're thinking, okay, I want my own place, I want my own
yeah,
privacy.
oh yeah,
They get out, they find that there's a lot of other stuff that
oh
comes
yeah,
with your own place
yeah,
besides just rent. You got utilities, you got water, you got a whole bunch of stuff. You got cable,
yes,
and so I think it's amazing that even if you're living in your parents' space, you should realize that there's more than just is you're being sponsored, basically,
yeah,
right?
'cause and again, we're talking about uh, what I would say parents, or you didn't learn this in high school, because when I was just being happy go lucky, and I guess I was really being a kid.
Uh huh.
But I had never heard of earnest money and stuff, with the house.
Oh yeah.
None of, basic things. You're getting out there. I knew that you had some agreement, but I really didn't know anything about a lease agreement. I had never seen one. before I got ready to get on my, what is this?
Hmm.
Well, I'm just going to come stay here. No, we
Yeah.
have to have an agreement here. There's certain, things expected from you and from us and et cetera. So, yeah.
So I think a couple of things. If a person is moving on to college, and
Mhm.
let's say they're moving into the dorm,
Yeah.
that's their transition into learning that there's a cost to this,
Yes.
and they can live there for 2 to 4 years, and then actually transition out on their own, or
Oh, yeah.
maybe after 2 years in college they can go into an apartment. So my
Yeah.
son was able to learn it from that perspective, but that's part of financial literacy as well. And then
Yeah.
buying a house. June is National Homeownership Awareness Month. And that's where I encourage everybody, whether they're going to buy a home or not, HUD provides free first time homebuyer courses.
Yeah. Right.
And I believe that the time to go through that course is not just when you want to buy a house.
Oh,
Go through it
exactly.
right now, because
Yeah.
there's some stuff that you don't know. Even if you
Right.
have a house, there's some stuff that you don't know that you probably need to know. And if
Exactly.
you go through this course, you'll learn more about it, and that will help in your next house.
Right.
And so if you're watching this and you're a high school student, contact the Empower series, and we will give you resources where there's a self-paced course on buying a home or moving out into an apartment,
Yes.
so that you can be prepared, and
Right.
your parents will be so proud of you. Right?
Exactly.
All right. So what else? What else? This is
Okay.
exciting. I'm liking this. This is some good stuff.
Okay. Well, we want to talk about a few things again that we should do. I guess the last section of that.
Mhm.
And again, let me go back to the fact that we're writing these things, know, have, and do.
Mhm.
If there's something here that a person find that is not listed, that's why the uh, note blank note pages in the back, you'll be able to write it down. That's why this become an interactive piece that you should be able to discuss with whether it be your parents, your friends, or anyone else too.
Yeah. So if you're
Yeah.
watching this in the comments section, or if you're during the live chat, go ahead and put down some things that, in those categories, right?
Yeah.
Things to know, have, and do.
Right.
What are we missing, right? What are we
Yes.
missing? Add to the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. In terms of things to do, of course, those things that you want to take action on in accomplishing whatever your goals are. So you will also do this with everything that you do in life. Example, do well. We talked about the banking part. Open up some type of, well, some people don't use the bank or whatever. I just mentioned open a banking account, and et
Hmm.
cetera. So however way you can get and manage your money, that's what you do. Uh, you want to establish a line of credit. Many things that we do is based upon credit,
Yeah.
and
Important.
importance about establishing that. You figure that out. You will need to make certain do pay your bills.
Pay your bills on
Yeah,
time.
well, and on time. Yeah, it helps because if you don't, what you got late fees? Oh, those things will probably kill you. I guess. I
Pay your bills on time,
Yeah.
every time,
Yes.
right? Every time.
Just consistently. Those are the things you have to do. You do need to know how to read your. Well, I had here. Your we don't have a minute. What should we do? We still have local newspaper, and then you also be reading stuff online. But read a lot of your print.
Hmm.
Uh, things too, so you know how to be able to move forward in whatever you're reading. Because uh, I always found that people, myself, or in school, when they read a lot, they know so much. Oh, they know a lot.
So let's talk about that. What have you found in reading literacy for high school students? Like so first off, if you're in school, you're reading a lot of books and you're studying. But when you get out of school, it's important for you to continue to read, right? What are you finding?
Well, if I'm finding people where you don't have to say, I'm taking a course and trying to better myself, that kind of reading. But your love stories, always, nobody need to tell them about that. Those are
Right, right,
always big.
right.
People are reading. Um,
And wait, and they're mostly
when did
women
you
reading
read?
those, right?
Right.
Guys aren't reading those kind of books.
Well, okay.
At least I don't
Well,
know
some
any
of
guys
them not.
anyway.
Well, I ain't gonna say that. Yeah, they are reading more things that if they find an interest in something,
Yeah.
whether it would be, I'm gonna learn how to. Uh, oh, I don't know, fix something or do something, or whether play sports or game. They're gonna focus. They're gonna learn. They're gonna
Hmm.
read. That's what people
Like
generally.
how-to books.
Yeah,
How-to books. Okay.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly, perfect. That's the things. A lot of your how-to books does
Well,
real
and
well.
there's really how-to books on all of this stuff: financial
Yeah.
literacy, life skills, personal
Hmm.
development, all of those things.
Yeah.
Going back to some of the stuff you talked about when you said moving out on your own,
Hmm.
right, and looking at lease agreements.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people want to move out on in their own space. They want their privacy.
Yes.
They got to realize, so you got to take baby steps sometimes, right? There's
Yes.
nothing wrong, at least with my kids.
Hmm.
They moved out and they had roommates. Like my
Okay.
son
Yeah.
had, I think my son and my daughter had 4 different roommates. Like it was
Right.
4 of them. And if that's what it takes to move out, get your own privacy,
Exactly.
and that's where it's important to learn how to build healthy relationships too.
Really right. So right, when you're out on your own, you're doing that, and you're gonna also learn that if you went to college as well, for the
Right,
most part.
right. Yeah,
You
because you
know,
lived in the dorm, right?
yeah,
You have
right.
to.
You're gonna be. I don't know how. Well, some of them not now. They have the private more part, then that community part where a lot of
Mhm.
us together had to go down the hall. I don't know if they still do that, but
The other thing I'm thinking about too, because when you think about moving out, definitely when you're in high school and you're moving out, you're renting, right? But at some point, they should learn about buying and owning a home, because
exactly.
because
Yeah,
every
right.
every piece of land and
Yes,
every improvement on it is owned by somebody.
exactly.
And the sooner you learn how to become an owner, the
Mm-hmm.
better. And there's
Yes,
nothing wrong with owning something small at first, right? And then
exactly.
gradually moving up. Because as a financial advisor, most of my clients who are wealthy, who have big homes,
Hmm.
they started small,
Right,
and people don't see that.
right.
And the key to having a lot is being able to make sacrifices and
Yes,
starting small.
yes,
So I want to accent the importance of not just getting your own place from a renting perspective, but
right.
learning how to own something, and even if it's small at first, because
Mhm.
it will grow.
Right. I think I may have mentioned, but yeah, that's one of the things to do to start. Uh, remember people when I started out, they started in a smaller place, but they didn't sell it when they got ready to move up.
That's another.
They
They kept it.
they kept it and rented it out, and
Right.
then they stayed. Some people on purpose. I had a cousin, on purpose. They get a place, stay there for so many. They fix it up, stay there for a few years, then they move. They step up. Yeah,
Look, people still do that. My uncle Shelby did that in Houston.
yeah,
And that's how you build a portfolio of real estate,
yeah.
and that's another way of creating some retirement income as well.
Yes.
So traditional investments, stocks and bonds, 401ks, that's great. But then there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
owning property, and then becoming not just the renter,
Yeah.
but then becoming the landlord.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 It- Again, so much of this are tied in together in terms of things you ought to know, have, and
They're
do.
overlapped, right?
Yeah. All right. And so, again, you're just gonna have to know how to get along. Get along with other folks. I mean,
Right.
personal develop relationship. However, you're just gonna have to learn to do that. And again, we talked about if they could start out with the roommate situation,
Hmm.
et cetera, in the dorms and et cetera. Uh, and there are a few folks they really need to be alone. But for the most
Right.
part, for the most part, you're just gonna have to learn to get along when other, very little. Avoid gossiping and all that stuff
Oh yeah.
as much as possible. All that backbiting and jealousy. When you
Hmm.
just don't add or put all of that those negative behaviors within you, you're really able to move forward. And I believe, yeah,
And so when you talked about getting along, I'm thinking about emotional intelligence.
yeah, okay,
So, I
yeah.
mean, is that taught in school, emotional intelligence? I mean, how is that taught in school? Because I think that's we talk about IQ, right?
Mhm,
Intellectual
mhm.
intelligence, but what about emotional intelligence? How is that addressed, or is it addressed at all?
I'm not for certain on that part piece of it. Some things come up. They have a rule and say, well, if this not going the way they want in the class, you go talk to the counselor or
Hmm.
something like that. But as far as a whole, for others to see the examples of a lot of things, because a lot of things this past year that wasn't a whole lot of interaction, but mostly you do things on the computer, and
Yeah.
when you're done, you just submit it. You're not even discussing a
I
lot
know.
of
I know
stuff.
there's
So,
no human interaction
yeah,
hardly. Yeah.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, you got to, there's nothing, I always say there's nothing of significance that can ever be done alone.
right,
You have to
exactly.
have somebody else, right?
Yes,
Have
it
to.
makes it so much better, so
So
much better.
so under do, I've kind of made some notes here. I've been making
Uh-huh.
notes. Hope you've been making notes too, right? So under personal development, cultivating resilience, setting goals, right?
Yes, mhm,
Self advocacy, emotional
yes,
intelligence. We talked about that. Maintaining your well being in face of new challenges. That's resilience. So things
mhm,
are not going to go right all the time.
right,
So you've got to have the belief and the faith that you can get through it, even
mhm,
though you may not be where you want to be right now.
yeah. Little basic stuff also is your choice. I'm not saying to represent no group or what they think, but register to vote. Maybe do
Yeah.
participate to try to register to vote. Do carry some type of identification with you at all
Mhm.
time. And when you got driver's license, try to keep it up to date.
Oh my
You know
God.
that there's
Don't
an
be driving.
expiration date.
Don't be driving dirty,
Yes,
right?
what
Don't
we
be driving.
right. Don't be driving dirty. Yeah, don't you don't want to be dirty, and you don't want your car to be dirty.
I love that.
Yes,
So here's
yeah.
the thing. I wrote that down too. So civic responsibility,
Yes,
understanding your role in the community because we're
yes,
not alone, and then also maintaining informed or making informed decisions as an adult citizen. So again, regardless of what your party is, your affiliation is, be informed, right?
hmm,
Educate yourself. Because
right,
ain't nobody, if we sit back and we take what's being fed to us,
hmm,
it all has a slant.
yes,
Everything has a slant.
yes,
So how proactive are you going out to really research and inform yourself? So
right.
being a responsible civic citizen.
Not really like that. I wish I'd have been able to use that. I mean, I could change it, but that's I really like you putting it in that sense. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Also, another little quick thing that I want to mention is do we of course we talked about after high school or getting ready to get out of high school, you're going to go on for some type of career training, but
Yeah.
do that, that's fine, but you also might want to consider more than one type of skill
Oh,
or
like it.
training with today's, because when we talk about, well, maybe you don't have to get in that right away, but always be open to consider more than one type of skill. I don't know, but some people say I need a side hustle and this and that, whatever.
Mhm.
And I say that because of the ever changing of careers or what we have to do to make a living.
I understand
So,
what you're saying because I'll tell you my career path, right? When I graduated from college, I had a business administration degree, and
okay,
my first job was an accountant, staff accountant,
yeah,
right? And I hate accounting, but I was an accountant.
yeah,
And then I moved up. I actually became a controller of a gas company,
okay,
and then I looked at myself, going like, "How the hell did I get here?" Right?
right,
And so I decided to change, and I became a consultant.
yeah,
So then I was consulting, doing leadership development, really helping people navigate or helping leaders navigate their decision making process. As I was a leader, so I just consulted on what I knew. So then I went from being an accountant or a numbers person to really a soft skills person.
right,
And then when that ended, I knew I wanted to do the Empower series. I didn't have the name of the Empower series, but I knew I wanted to put out there a
exactly,
message
yes,
of how to be a better steward of your resources. And the resources begin with your ideas, not just money.
yes,
But I'll tell you that later. So I knew that I needed to get some kind of credentials in financial services. So then I became a financial advisor.
okay,
And so
yeah,
20 years as a financial advisor. And then I started a nonprofit
okay,
organization. So in the course of just my lifespan, an accountant, a consultant, a financial advisor, and now nonprofit management leader. So to your point, get skilled in multiple things.
yes.
And actually I put out there, I'm going to say it again. I have learned and gotten an A in Spanish 1 like 5 or 6 times.
Okay.
But tell me how much Spanish I know right now. So I am committed to doing
Yeah.
a podcast in November
Uh-huh.
in Spanish. I put myself out there, okay?
Okay.
So it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm getting some comments again from people who are watching, right?
Yes.
So so here's some of the comments. Establish a relationship with a credit union. So a
Well,
lot
that'd
of
be fine.
times,
Yeah.
you go to a bank, but what's a credit union? Find out what a
Yeah.
credit union is about. And credit unions really provide, first off, it's for members.
Yeah.
And usually members have benefits.
Yes.
So as a member of a credit union, you're going to have other benefits and lower rates and certain things that a bank doesn't provide.
Correct.
So so one example is that, establish relationships with credit unions. Let's see, I'm kind of saying what they already said. They also offer discounts on insurance just for having a checking account. Yeah, so you get benefits.
Yes.
Benefits. So definitely that's another piece that was added.
Yeah.
And so add more comments. So live chat, comments, let this continue to grow, because
Yes.
I like the fact that you added some blank pages to the back of this so that people can add their own.
Right.
Right? Because this is just you getting the conversation started.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
That's
I love that.
interactive part. Yes. Yes. Well, that's pretty much it in terms of preparing yourself as you graduate from high school. And as you can see, those things that is not at high school, you're getting ready to move from, I consider, girlhood to womanhood.
Mhm.
And so when you're preparing and doing those things will continue on. These things here are not just going to stop just a short period of time after high school. This is forever going on in your life.
It grows. It grows.
Right. This is just for you to start at it, thinking about it, and let you know this is what's coming up or has come. So
I want to go deeper on something, because this just happened to me last week.
okay.
I met a 16-year-old. I met a 16-year-old who graduated from being a sophomore. Now he's a rising junior.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was asking him, I told him about the Empower series, so I want to reach out to a broader audience. And I asked him, so we help people achieve their goals, whatever that might be. So whether it's scholarships to go to college, or whether it's financial literacy, pieces that they need to know. So I asked him, what's your goal this summer? He said, well, I need a summer job. He's 16 years old. I asked him if he had a resume. He doesn't have a resume. So we've been in communication for the past week and a half with me getting information about what he accomplished in high school, and I helped him format that into a resume. And then the strategy is, now I told him to walk around his area, like walk around his neighborhood. So what is within like a 15-minute walking radius, and identify all of the businesses. So he did that. And I said, well, that you have identified the businesses, identify if they have a website with a career link. And so he did that. Some of them don't. Most of them is going to hire a 16-year-old, wants to see you face to face anyway, right? And so I said, okay, now the next step, and we're about to do this now, is I have copies of, because he didn't have a computer or a printer, so I have copies of his printed resume. And I said, I'm going to give you the copies of the printed resume, and I also kind of role play with them. When you walk into a company, what do you say? How do you present yourself? Look presentable, have a resume, and be prepared to fill out an application. But then I also said, we're going to sit down at a Starbucks, and there's around 3 companies. There's Chick-fil-A, I believe. There's the racetrack. And then there's a third company that hires 16-year-olds, but you got to fill out a resume online. And he tried it with his phone. Like, dude, you need a computer, right? And so I say that to say, under career exploration, identify their interest, right? I said, so I was asking, what are you interested in? And he said, well, he didn't really have a clear direction. And I said, well, for each one of these companies, I want you to write down why you're interested in them, and why would they hire you, right? What would you learn? And so I did that. I helped him develop a resume, develop interview skills. That's important.
Right.
Navigating the job search, and higher education applications. Right. So that was under the career exploration and preparedness.
I wanted to say, and I'm not for certain that I put this in the book. I may have somewhere, I'm not for certain, but what you're saying and what you're doing there, and it is so important, is to have some type of mentor.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
And you know what I think, too? I think in some programs, schools are doing that, because a 10th grader can mentor a 9th grader.
Yeah.
An 11th grader can mentor a 10th grader. A 12th grader can mentor an 11th grader. So it really doesn't matter where you are. It's like we are all, no matter where we are, we have the ability to reach back and give advice to someone who's about to walk in our steps, right? And then we should also be looking for someone that is doing something that we want to do, or they're doing it at a greater level, and they can learn from it. So, there's another comment that's coming through. Oh, yeah, this is real. So how about this? People are caught up in their feelings. So first off, my daughter, she always asks me, how do I feel? and I tell her what I'm thinking. And she said, Dad, that's what you're thinking. How do you feel?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always tough for me I have to pause and think about how I feel, because the way I was raised was, it doesn't matter how you feel. You got to get it done. Just do it. Like when you playing sports, like, doesn't matter if you're tired. Doesn't matter how you feel.
Right.
Like you got
to do it. Yeah, get the job done.
And so to a certain extent, you need to acknowledge your feelings, right? I'm not saying you need to like be a robot. However, one of the adulting things is that sometimes it doesn't matter how you feel. You got to get it done. That's what discipline is. Discipline is doing things that need to get done that would get you to where you need to be it doesn't matter how you feel.
Right.
Right. And so that's also, I think, is an important thing that one of the people watching is including in the chat. And that's important. So a lot of times you have to do things that you don't like, and you're not always going to be happy at your job. So sometimes even carriers just have to get the job done, right?
Yes.
You just got to get it done, and you get the results. So people don't get really what they want; they get what they do. They get what they do. So yeah, I just think this is a great book. So let me ask you this: out of what you've written down, what would be, and people watching this right now, what would be your advice to them in summarizing everything that you've written down? If you can summarize it in a couple of sentences, what would it be?
Well, I figure it's always back to the title, that the title itself just summarizes the whole book.
Mm-hmm.
That as you're graduating from high school, as you're moving from a young adult into adulthood, these are some of the things that you definitely need to know, have, and do in order to have a productive, fulfilling life.
And it's continuous,
yes,
right?
It's just continuous.
You don't check the box and then leave it alone. You got it always evolve, because where you are now at high school, 5 years from now, you're going to be different. You're going to be thinking differently.
Yes.
So I would say between 20 and 30, what you're doing in your environment should be different than when you're 30 to 40.
It will.
And when you're 40 to 50. So all of these things are looked at. So when you look at financial literacy, your financial literacy IQ needs to grow. Right.
Yes.
It can't just stay the same.
No, right.
So in budgeting, in my opinion, budgeting is a lifetime skill. You may not be doing it yourself. You may be at a point like you're balling out.
Yeah.
Then you can use a third party, outsource that.
Yeah,
but you got to know where your money's going, because if you don't know where your money's going, you're going to be losing it.
Yes.
And you need to know how to manage it, because to your point, at some point you're going to retire.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to retire, and now you got to manage what you got. So that's important. Understanding credit, that's always a lifetime goal. And then career exploration and preparedness. People's career is going to change. They're going to evolve. Right. You're now a writer.
The world needs changes. Yeah.
And so I think that's important. So identifying your interests, know those job skills, and realize this: you're never paid by the hour. You're never paid by the hour. You're always paid by the value that you contribute to the marketplace. And I would tell you that the value that people contribute, teachers are tremendously valuable, but they're not paid as much, right? Unfortunately, because the marketplace doesn't value that. Yes. The marketplace does value entertainment, right? So there's a lot of entertainers, even athletes that get a lot of money. But at the end of the day, there are professions that if you can take your knowledge, your skill set, and craft it, put it in a book or put it into something with technology growing now and evolving, even artificial intelligence. But we got to realize it's artificial intelligence, right? So it's not more intelligent than us. We created that. Yeah. So that grows. Life skills, the basic household skills, problem solving and critical thinking is critically important. Personal development, being able to get along with someone else.
Exactly.
And look, all the knowledge in the world, you may know everything, but if people don't like you, they ain't listening to you. Right? So come on, straighten up. And then civic engagement and being responsible, realizing that we're in a community together, that we live next door to people that might think differently about us. They might even hate us, right? But at the end of the day, we share this space called Earth. Right. And we've got to get along in some regard. Yes. And I think diversity is interesting. Diversity was a big thing now. Diversity is a key to everything. Now the pendulum is switching, saying that diversity is not as good as it should, or is not as the solution to everything, right? Mm-hmm. But here's what I would tell you. Diversity, I think, is important to the standpoint to where we need to be open to other ideas. And you and I can be open to ideas as long as they're within our realm of possibility. But the real measure of diversity is if someone has an opinion or a thought that is vastly different than you, that is outside of your realm of acceptability. Everybody's open until that happens, right? So real diversity is really embracing the other side of it when people feel like diversity is not that important. What? How could that
It
be that?
is, yeah.
Hey, that's a diverse idea, right? So I'm challenging with that. You got to be open to people who believe totally different than you. If you really believe that diversity is good.
Well, I wanted to also leave with one thing that I didn't mention,
Mhm.
and it's dear to me because I am there and I've seen it. The last thing when in terms of do that I'm telling to the people, it says, do show respect for our senior citizens at all times.
You and me both. We both senior, right?
Well, right. But I'm telling to the young people, do that. This is a good humanitarian thing to do. It really is.
Really care for us.
Yeah, when possible, it is good to listen to any rich history that, some of us may have. Absolutely no profane language or spoken in their presence. Just
Yeah.
basic things that it
Yeah.
really does. Our culture really need to.
Yeah, I hear you. And I hear what you're saying. We need to respect it. And I think the older generation is more inclined to do that than the newer generation that I
Yes.
see. I mean, it's as simple as calling elderly people, even your aunts and uncles and relatives by their first name.
Yes.
I mean, I would never call my aunt Zelma, "Hey,
Yeah.
Zelma, what's up? What's
Right.
up?"
Yeah.
You're always my aunt,
Yeah. It always aunt
my
this,
aunt Gloria,
this, and
my,
that.
I would never, I can never even imagine that, right? Or not, or my mother and father have passed, unfortunately, but I would never call them anything other than mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
So, we can talk forever.
Of course.
Yeah. I think this is very, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for a couple of reasons. I want to thank you for not only taking a portion of your life and being on the Empower Series podcast, because you can never get that back. And I think that's the most important thing. I want to thank you for taking the time of putting your thoughts in a book and really documenting it and creating a legacy, right? And this book, again, the links to the book is going to be underneath the video.
Okay.
Amazon is like the most popular, but you've got a sheet there with a ton of other places they can get the book from.
Yeah.
So I'm going to list them down there too. So get the book wherever you want to get the book from, right?
Yes.
But if people want to get in touch with you, is there a way for people to get in touch with you and talk to you? Like if they want you to go out and talk to their students or do speaking engagements, because I know you do speaking engagement, right?
Right. We're in the process of doing something on the web page, but yeah, I have a number that's 214. I don't mind by giving that.
Okay.
471-5664.
All right.
And you can always just leave a message at that for me.
Okay, and I'll put that number too. I'll put it out there for the universe to use.
Yes.
So my hope is that your number is blown up because you are just initiating the conversation.
Yes.
About what should people know, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times, so another comment came through. Oh no, that's the same comment. I'm sorry. I thought there was another comment that came through. But I want to not only thank you, I want to thank you for sticking in and watching this as well. Our viewers. The Empower Series is a nonprofit organization.
Yes.
Our goal is to give people hope, inspiration, education, and connection to resources. We do that by doing workshops on the third Saturday of every month at the Martin Luther King Center near Fair Park, but they're live streamed, so we're global, right? Okay. That's why, I really welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world because they be tuning in.
Again, I appreciate you for having me to be able to come and interact with you. Yeah.
This is good. Hey, and also, well, I just want to, I want to thank you from a personal perspective for coming by and caring for me, right? Yeah. when I was under weather, that was so kind of you, and that was so kind of you. So also, I want to say this: if you want to get in touch with the Empower Series, email us. If there's some things you want to talk about or want us to talk about, you can email me at thrive@empowerseries.com. That's thrive@empowerseries.com. You can go to our website, empowerseries.com, and also answer a survey or find out about our next event. And also, if you want to contribute to help us empower more people, this is always going to be free for you. It's going to cost you the most important resource you have, which is your time. But it's not going to cost you money. but it does cost money to put these things on. So if you want to make a donation and be a strategic partner in helping us get this content out there, you can hit the donate button or contact me, or you can text give or donate to 214-225-6337. That's 214-225-6337, and you'll get a secured link back where you can make a donation of your choice. Monthly donations are great. One-time donations are great as well. So whatever you do not keep this a secret. Share this with somebody else. We only retain, and this hasn't changed much, we only retain like we lose 70% of what we hear the next day.
Yes.
Right? That's because there's so many things coming at us. So that's one of the reasons why we record our programs, so that you can come back and watch them over again. Because the second time you hear it, like Sade was wrong. Like the second time around is usually better than the first time around, the third and the fourth, because you're picking up new things and you're a new person hearing.
Yes.
So please watch this again, come back to our channel, watch this over and over again, but more importantly, implement it. So until we meet again, I want you to be inspired and empowered. I want you to be empowered and inspired to thrive. Get it right.